Good to see everybody. Hey, Lorna.
Hi, Christine. How are you? Hi, everyone. Happy Magic Monday.
Glad to be here. Spring is in the air.
I don't know.
Like summer's tomorrow. So very exciting to be here. We have a juicy topic. We want to dive right in. So a lot of you folks maybe saw the quote up on a recent posting in our A&M group there. Lauren, you want to hold that up?
I do. If you can see it here, I'll read it. It says, if you avoid conflict to keep the peace, you start a war inside yourself.
So today's topic, part 1 of 2, actually, because it's a pretty meaty topic we want to explore, is how to stop biting your tongue.
Yes. The ways in which we don't say what we feel, we don't say what we need or what we want because we think that it's better to keep the peace.
Right.
And, I got to tell you that this used to be my life. I really would go along to get along. I was so worried about offending people that I would say something and I would put a little ha-ha at the end of anything that I said, because then I could always say I was kidding. That's how bad this got for me, because I was just so afraid of expressing my opinion or saying what I needed. And I was negating myself to such an extent that my body then I ended up with pain in my throat for a long time that was like, what is this? And I wasn't sick and it was literally my body telling me, you need to use your voice.
Yeah.
You need to speak your truth.
Yeah.
I mean, hello. It was crazy.
And we'll go into a lot more of the origin of why that is literally kind of hardwired into a lot of us these days. But for sure, notwithstanding our own family conditioning, for me, just wasn't part of the rule book, So you can call it conflict phobia or conflict anxiety, but being confrontational was not in the rule book. If anything, it really went against a lot of how you were supposed to be in the world, and learning to acknowledge when we're biting our tongue way too much, learning the costs and the expense to, again, our emotional and our physical well-being is really a game changer, right?
And why do we do this, right? We think that we're keeping the peace. We think that, that's the why, but how is it affecting us is every time we hold our tongue, we negate ourselves.
Yeah.
We are saying to ourselves that what we need, what we want, and how we feel is less important than the other person that we're talking to or that we're involved in a relationship with,
right.
Which leads into having a very inauthentic relationship.
Right. It leads to anger and resentment. You're not on the same page going forward ever, right? Something that builds and builds. And for me, when you hold your tongue, that emotion goes somewhere. It comes out somewhere. It comes out in a daily, interaction. It comes out in being passive aggressive. It's stressful. It's draining. You're feeling more and more exhausted all the time, and you can't figure out why.
You don't know why, right? Because you think you're doing the right thing, but what you're actually doing is hurting the relationship, making it not real, and then wondering why you don't have the connection that you want, in this person. You love them, right? Or you care about them, or, maybe you don't love them. Maybe it's your boss at work, but you're not speaking up for yourself.
Right. The relationship suffers, we suffer. We come from the believing that we have the best intentions, but we're hurting ourselves because it's unfair to ourselves. And we're hurting others because it's unfair to our relationship with others. So we stay stuck, right?
Yeah. Yes. And we don't understand why it doesn't feel good.
Yeah. So many reasons why we do this. So how do we stop? How do we stop biting our tongue, Lorna?
Right. And that leads us into why, we're doing a 2-parter today, right? Because this is what we were talking about last week, Christine, right? We were saying, take a chance, right? Try something new. And now today we're saying, just tell people how you feel. Speak up for yourself.
Right. Express those emotions. Show yourself, right?
Come on, it's easy. Why aren't you doing that?
Right.
But it's not easy at all.
It's not easy at all, right? And when it gets confusing because, are we supposed to be responding and being calm and thoughtful about our, what's going on. How do we do that when we have these very intense emotions that come up for us? We want to speak our minds and we have strong reactions. So where's the balance between reacting and responding, right? And being real.
And how do you do it when you're terrified?
It feels really scary. I was telling Lorna, for a long time, having certain conversations with my husband felt like I had a big bullseye on my back, and I would literally, my heart would pound. And it's just to basically say, well, this is how I feel about something.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's how scary it can be. And that's kind of what we need to work through and to understand why it does feel so scary. And that is what we're going to talk about next week, because it isn't cut and dry. And if we're making it seem like that, we understand that that's not the case. And you and I both still do things that are very scary, but we understand the machinations behind it, and that's how we can move through it.
Exactly.
But for now, to really, between now and next week, to really think about, why you come away from a conversation and it doesn't feel good, and something isn't sitting well with you, and that you've bitten your tongue. Can you spend some time thinking about how you really feel? Because if you can't do that, you can't express it. And so to kind of get really clear on how you really do feel and what you may want that's different in the relationship.
Right. So pay attention, in your daily interactions. Notice when you're biting your tongue. What does it feel like? Get really curious. What's the emotion that's coming up for you? What is it that needs to be expressed? Maybe ask yourself, why are you having this reaction? Why did you bite your tongue? Right. And sort of just get really, curious and exploratory around those incidences.
Yeah. And is your body sending you messages? Do you have a tight throat, or do you have a bellyache when this happens? Is your body saying, speak up for us, right? We need to do this differently.
Yeah. The body never lies, right? It's always correct, right? And when we can, again, use the magic moment to come into our bodies, to sort of breathe through it, bring a curious awareness to what's happening, a gentle curiosity around it. That's where we get to change the dance, right?
And it always comes back to us being just as important as everyone else. And we don't want to negate ourselves, and we don't want to be at the expense of others. That we can be in service to ourselves and in service to others.
In fact, that's the way it actually works, right? In order to be in service to those in our lives that we love and care about, it starts with us.
Yes. And biting our tongue is a way that we are not being in service to ourselves. And that's why we want to talk about it.
Excellent.
All right.
All right. Stay tuned for part 2. We'd love to hear from you.
Have a great week, everyone.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.